Hi, Leldy, and thanks for having me. And before I start, some important information. This is general advice. Obviously, investors' circumstances have not been taken into account. So at a high level, DomaCom has two key business lines. The first is fractional investing. As the name suggests, it's taking lumpy assets and dividing it into bite-sized chunks. The majority of the assets are properties, for example. So instead of buying a whole property, investors can buy bits of property. So it's a modern form of syndication. The other aspect of our business is really the flip side of that coin, is people who own a whole house to be able to sell a bit of their house, and that's called fractional equity release. In fact, the product's called senior equity release. DomaCom is a B2B business, so we don't really market direct to consumer, and we go through financial advisors, affinity groups, and affinity groups are things like property developers, wind farms, solar farms, where they need community engagement. And then we have a couple of B2C clients. The first is a group called Halo, or Australian Stock Report Wealth. Another one is a latest Islamic finance company called Crescent Finance, who are in the process of launching their product. So that's really our business model. As indicated earlier on, in terms of products, it's fractional investing, equity release, but also lending as well. So we enable some of our investors, or our clients, to enable investors to access high returns by syndicating the loans. In other words, cutting the bank out. And so it's a very attractive product, particularly in this environment where the interest rates are so low for term deposits. So yeah, now the focus of today is really ESG and and what DomaCom does from an environmental, social, and governance perspective. So from an environmental perspective, we have some of our clients interested in particularly rural, and in the future going forward, the production of food is clearly in a sustainable manner, clearly a very important investment class. And so we have several rural investment property investments already, and also options on the platform. The other is the obvious one, renewables, and solar, wind farm, batteries, biofuels. And DomaCom has already had their first indication in supporting a major wind farm called the Sapphire Wind Farm up north. We've got several other transactions in the process of supporting solar farms and wind farms as well. And we've also had a go at a biohub, and I'm sure we'll get that going again, particularly with the focus on hydrogen coming forward. So, and then the other side of social investment would be NDIS. There's clearly a great need in Australia to provide accommodation that's fit for purpose for the disabled among us, and particularly a lot of families are getting older and they're worried about what's going to happen to their children. So we've already had our first two syndications in this area, and it creates a very attractive investment for investors in terms of the yields are quite attractive, and they're backed by a government NDIS program. So you're talking about 8 to 8.5% income yield, and you're delivering a social outcome. You're creating accommodation for people who need it most. Now, that's really an attractive investment class, and we've got maybe another dozen of these indications lining up. So we believe going forward this will be a major opportunity. And then the other side of social is affordable housing. We all know it's harder and harder to get accommodation, and the need in Australia is in the hundreds of thousands of homes needed to accommodate people. And what we're doing is really partnering with what's called a community housing provider and the National Housing Finance Investment Corporation to be able to access low-cost government debt to deliver discounted rent for essential workers. That's our initial target. So nurses, police, firefighters, and etc. And but there's a twist. The normal affordable housing just gives people 25% discounted rent. Our product delivers that, plus we give equity. So in other words, the teacher or the nurse or the firefighter or the policeman, they get equity in the apartment they're renting, 1% per year for 5 years. So we give them a head start onto the property ladder, in addition to giving them access to discounted rent. And one additional feature of our product is that the nurse or teacher or the essential worker can choose the subject, the suburb that they wish.
Yeah.
So in summary, DomaCom allows people to basically invest in fractions of specific assets, primarily properties, but not just properties, and to deliver an outcome for either their environmental objectives, social objectives, or governance objectives. So thank you very much.